docked with a soft thud, and Miyu grabbed his bag from the overhead compartment. Through the small window, he could see the orbital station stretching out like a massive metal flower against the black sky. Lights blinked along its many arms. Ships moved around it like tiny insects. This was the Radiant Horizon, one of the biggest trading stations in the part of the galaxy, and starting today, it was his new home. He was not a tall man, he was not especially strong or fast. He had brown eyes, short black hair, and hands that were rough from years of working with machines. Back on Earth, he had been just another engineer, one of millions. But out here among the stars, he was something rare. He was human, and humans did not often travel this far from their home system. A lock opened with a hiss and Miyu stepped onto the station. The air smelled strange, clean but with a hint of something sharp underneath, chemical. He had read about the place before coming. The Radiant Horizon was famous for its chemical processing facilities. They made fuel here, biofuel that could power ships across vast distances. It was dangerous work, but it paid well. The aliens waited for him at the end of the corridor. Miyu had seen pictures of them before, but seeing them in person was different. They were tall, almost 2 meters each, with bodies that looked like they were made of living glass. He could see light moving inside them, soft colors that shifted and changed. Their faces had 6 eyes arranged in 2 rows of 3, and when they moved, they made a soft chiming sound like wind through crystal bell. When in front stepped forward, she wore a badge that marked her as someone important. "We're the human engineer," she said. Her voice was high and musical. "I'm Bora. I'm the chief of this station." He bowed his head slowly. "Thank you for having me. I hope I can be useful here." Studied him with all 6 of her eyes. He could not read her expression. They did not have faces that moved like human faces did. Instead, the colors inside their bodies changed to show emotion. Right now, Bora was a pale blue. Miyu did not know what that meant. "I've never had a human work here before," Bora said. "Your species is new to this region of space. Many of my people do not know what to expect from you." "Understand," Miyu said. "I will do my best to fit in." Made a sound that might have been agreeing. She turned and began walking down the corridor. The other followed, and Miyu walked with them. He noticed that they kept their distance from him, not in a rude way, but carefully, like they were not sure what he might do. The alien was huge. They walked for almost 20 minutes, passing through sections filled with cargo, sections filled with machinery, and sections where other alien species worked and lived. Miyu saw creatures with 4 arms, creatures covered in fur, creatures that floated instead of walked. None of them paid much attention to him, but they kept watching, always watching. They reached the chemical processing wing. The doors here were thicker, made of heavy metal with warning signs in a dozen languages. Miyu could read the English one. It said, "Danger, corrosive METRILS, authorized personnel only." "This is where you will work," Bor said. She pressed her hand against the panel and the door slid open. Beyond was massive. Huge tanks lined the walls, each one filled with liquid of different colors. Green, yellow, orange, red. Pipes ran between them like metal veins. The air was warm and had that sharp chemical smell Miyu had noticed earlier, but much stronger now. The tanks contain the processing fluids, Bor explained. They are used to refine the raw fuel into something ships can use. The process is complex and requires careful monitoring. He nodded, looking around with interest. That was exactly the kind of work he enjoyed. Complex systems, delicate processes, problems to solve. Forward from the group of workers. He was smaller than Bora, and the colors inside him flickered nervously. Yellow and orange. Miyu guessed that meant anxiety. "This is," Bora said. "He will be your supervisor. He will teach you our protocols and make sure you understand the safety rules." To me, like someone might look at a bomb that could explode at any moment. Come said, though he did not sound welcoming. "I must tell you something important right away. The fluids in these tanks are extremely dangerous. They are acidic, class 7 corrosives. You understand what that means?" He nodded. "It means they can dissolve organic material very quickly." "Not just quickly," said, "instantly. If any of these fluids touch your skin, you will die. There will be nothing left of you, not even bones. We have lost workers before. Good workers. They made small mistakes and they paid with their lives." Others in the room had stopped working. They were all watching now, their crystalline bodies reflecting the colored lights of the tanks. "Understand," Miyu said seriously. "I will be careful." "Must wear your hazard suit at all times," in the room continued. "You must never touch anything with your bare hands. You must follow every protocol exactly as it is written. There is no room for error here. None." He accepted the hazard suit that handed him. It was heavy, made of some material he did not recognize. But alien technology designed to resist the acids. "Glad to have your help," Bor said, though her tone suggested she was not entirely sure about that. "Humans are said to be creative problem solvers. We hope that is true, but please remember that you are fragile, more fragile than us. Your species does not have our natural resistance to temperature changes. You do not have our ability to heal quickly. You are soft." He did not argue. He simply nodded and began putting on the suit. As he worked, he thought about what Bor had said. Soft, fragile. He had heard these words before. Other aliens had said them about humans. They looked at human bodies and saw weak creatures. No claws, no armor, no venom, just soft skin and brittle bone. They did not understand was that soft did not mean helpless. Humans had survived ice ages. They had survived plagues. They had survived their own planet trying to kill them in 1,000 different ways. They had crawled out of the mud, built cities, and reached for the stars. He finished putting on his suit and turned to face his new colleagues. He passed on the Radiant Horizon, and Miyu fell into a comfortable routine. He woke up early, ate breakfast in the station cafeteria, and then reported to the chemical processing wing for his shift. The work was hard but interesting. Every day brought new challenges, new problems to solve, new things to learn. They had begun to accept him, not completely, but enough. They no longer watched him with obvious fear. He started to relax around him, though he still reminded Miyu about the safe protocols at least 3 times every shift. You did not mind. He understood that they were careful because they had to be. The acids in those tanks were truly dangerous. He had seen what happened when a small amount leaked from a pipe during maintenance. The liquid had eaten through the floor like water through paper. If not for the emergency containment system, it could have been much worse. Something was bothering him, something that they did not seem to want to talk about. Tank 7 sat in the far corner of the processing wing, separated from the other tanks by a wide empty space. No one worked near it. No one even looked at it if they could help it. The other tanks had workers constantly checking them, adjusting controls, monitoring readings. Tank 7 sat alone and ignored. You had noticed the problem on his 3rd day. The temperature readings for Tank 7 were wrong. They jumped up and down without any power. Sometimes they showed the tank was too hot, sometimes too cold, sometimes the readings made no sense at all. Any other tank that would be a serious concern. Temperature changes in acidic fluids could cause dangerous reactions. Pressure could build up. The tank could fail. But when Miyu mentioned it too, his supervisor had simply shaken his head. Sensors are old, had said. They have been giving bad readings for a long time. We cannot afford to replace them. What if there's a real problem? Minyu had asked. What if the temperature really is changing? Colors had shifted to dark purple. Minyu had learned that this meant that it was uncomfortable. Do not go near Tank 7, had said quietly. It is too dangerous. The acid inside is the strongest we have, Class 7 plus. Even with suits, we cannot risk it. Then how do you maintain it? You do not. We simply hope it does not fail. The answer had shocked Minyu. Hope was not a maintenance strategy. Hope did not fix broken sensors or prevent disasters, but had refused to discuss it further, and the other workers had suddenly found reason to be somewhere else. 2 weeks later, Minyu stood at his workstation and watched Tank 7 from across the room. The readings on his screen were jumping again. Hot, cold, hot, cold. Something was definitely wrong inside the tank, and they were just going to ignore it until it exploded. Could not let that happen. His shift ended, Minyu went to find Bora. The station chief had an office near the command center, a small room with windows that looked out into space. She seemed surprised to see him. Engineer Minyu, she said, is something wrong? I need to talk to you about Tank 7. Clothes inside Bora's body flickered. Blue to purple to gray, she gestured for him to sit down. What about Tank 7? Temperature readings are unstable, Minyu said. They have been unstable for weeks, may longer. I think there is a problem with the thermal cooling system. If it fails completely, the acid inside could overheat. The pressure could build until the tank ruptures. Bora was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was softer than usual. I know about the readings, she said. We have known for a long time, but there is nothing we can do. Why not? It is just a maintenance problem. I could probably fix it in a few hours. Bora stood up suddenly, her crystal body chiming with the movement. You do not understand. The acid in Tank 7 is not like the others. It is a spell compound, stronger, more concentrated. Our hazard suits cannot protect against it. If anyone goes near that tank without proper protection, they will die. And get proper protection, Minyu said. Order better suits, call for specialists. I've tried. Bora walked to the window and stared out at the stars. The suits that could protect against Class 7 plus acid cost more than our entire yearly budget. The specialists who could safely work on the tank are all employed by large stations. They will not come here. What is your plan? Just wait for it to explode. We'll turn back to face him. Her colors were gray now, defeat. Tank 7 fails, we will evacuate the station. Everyone will be moved to the emergency ships. We will escape and watch from a safe distance while the processing wing is destroyed. Then we will begin repairs. It will take months, may years, but at least we will be alive. You stared at her. That is not a plan, that is giving up. This reality, Bora's voice was flat. We have accepted it, you should too. Night, Minyu could not sleep. He lay in his small quarters and stared at the ceiling, thinking about Tank 7, thinking about thee and their acceptance of disaster, thinking about the acid that scared them so much. Class 7 plus, what did that even mean? He up and walked to his terminal. It took him almost an hour to find the chemical specifications for the acid in Tank 7. The information was buried in old files that no one had looked at in years, but when he finally found it, he read every word carefully. Acid was strong, very strong. It could dissolve most metal in a second. It could burn through crystal flesh like fire through dry leaves. For them, it was one of the most dangerous substances in the known galaxy. But Minyu was not. He was human. As he read the chemical formula again and again, a strange feeling grew in his chest. It took him a moment to recognize it. He was smiling. Acid in Tank 7 was not something new or alien. It was something very familiar, something that humans had been working with for thousands of years. They had given it a scary name and treated it like a monster because their bodies could not handle it. But human bodies were different. Bodies were tough in ways that the galaxy did not understand. He turned off his terminal and went back to bed. Tomorrow, he would do something that would change everything. Tomorrow, he would show them what humans were really made of. It came too slowly. Minyu had barely slept, but he did not feel tired. His mind was racing with plans and possibilities. He showered, dressed in his regular clothes, and walked to the cafeteria. He ate a large breakfast while they around him picked at their nutrient crystals. They did not eat the way humans did. Their bodies absorbed minerals directly, like plants absorbing sunlight. Watching Minyu chew and swallow real food made some of them uncomfortable. He had learned to eat alone most days. He did not care who was watching. Breakfast, Minyu walked to the chemical processing wing. He did not stop at his locker to get his hazard suit. He did not check in with. He simply walked through the heavy doors and into the room full of acid tanks. Saw him first. The supervisor had been checking readings on Tank 3 when Minyu entered. When he turned and saw Minyu standing there in his regular clothes, without any protective equipment, his entire body flashed bright red. Child, what are you doing? Where is your suit? Workers looked up from their stations. Their colors changed from calm blues and greens to alarmed reds and oranges. Someone dropped a tool. It clattered on the metal floor, the sound echoing through the suddenly silent room. I need to check something, Minyu said calmly. Started walking, not toward the main tanks, not toward his usual workstation. He walked toward the far corner of the room, toward the empty space that everyone avoided, toward Tank 7. Stop, ran after him, his crystal legs chiming against the floor. You cannot go there, it is forbidden. And oh, Minyu said without slowing down. Arms began to wail. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. Someone had triggered the emergency system. Minyu could hear people running, doors opening and closing, voices shouting in languages he did not understand. His voice came through the speakers mounted on the walls. She sounded angry and scared at the same time. Engineer Minyu, stop immediately. This is a direct order. If you go near Tank 7 without protection, you will die. Minyu kept walking. The workers were fleeing now, running for the exits, pushing past each other in their panic. Only remained following behind Minyu at a safe distance, his body flickering through every color of the rainbow. Please begged, please stop. I do not want to watch you die. He stopped. He turned to look at it, and for a moment his expression softened. Will not watch me die, he said. I promise, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Color settled into confused purple. He did not answer, but he did not run away either. He turned back and continued toward Tank 7. The tank was massive up close, 3 times Minyu's height and wide enough to hold a small house. Its surface was covered with warning labels in dozens of languages. The access port was on the side, a circular hatch with a heavy lock. Minyu reached for the lock. His hands did not shake. His heart was beating fast, but not from fear, from excitement, from the thrill of knowing something that no one else in this room understood. The lock clicked open. Grabbed the handle of the access port and turned it. The hatch swung open with a soft hiss. Warm air rushed out, carrying the sharp chemical smell he had grown used to over the past weeks, but stronger now, much stronger. At the tank he could see the acid. It was pale green, almost beautiful, glowing softly in the dim light. Vapor rose from its surface like steam from a hot bath. Aura's voice came through the speaker again. This time she was not giving orders, she was pleading. Please close the hatch, step away. We can talk about this. We can find another solution, just please do not let the acid, please. He looked at the acid. He looked at the vapor rising from it. He thought about all the warnings he had been given, all the fear in those voices, all the stories about workers who had been dissolved in seconds. He reached out his hand and dipped his finger into the acid. Behind him screamed. Sound was high and sharp, like glass breaking. Other voices joined in from somewhere in the distance, people crying out in horror, people expecting to see Miyu's hand dissolve into nothing. But nothing happened. He held his finger in the acid for 3 full seconds. Then he pulled it out and looked at it. The skin was slightly red, a little irritated, like he had touched something too warm, but that was all. He was fine. He was completely fine. The room had gone silent again. Even the alarm seemed quieter. Was standing a few meters away, his body frozen, his colors gone completely white. He turned to face him and held up his hand so he would see. I'm not dead, Miyu said. I can see that. Voice was barely a whisper. How the acid it should have. Did not. Miyu looked back at the tank, at the pale green liquid that had terrified an entire station. And now I know what I need to know. The temperature is wrong. The acid is too cold. That is why your readings have been jumping around. The thermal coupling is failing. It is not keeping the acid at the right temperature, so the sensors are going crazy trying to keep up. They stared at him. It's an easy fix, Miyu continued. Maybe 2 hours of work, 3 at most. Once the thermal coupling is replaced, the readings will stabilize. Tank 7 will be safe. How did you survive? Finally managed to ask. The acid. He smiled. It was not a mocking smile or a proud smile. It was the smile of someone who had a secret and was finally ready to share it. Acid in this tank is similar to something we have on Earth, he said. We call it citric acid. Humans have been using it for thousands of years. We put it in our food. We drink it in our juice. We use it to clean things. He looked at his red finger and shrugged. For you, it is a deadly poison. For me, it is a mild irritant, not more. The sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. His colors were slowly returning, shifting through confused blues and amazed purple. Species, he said lowly, puts class 7 Blaskarov in your food. Yes, Miyu said simply, we do. The speaker's Boar's voice came again, but this time she was not pleading or ordering. She was asking a question that she seemed almost afraid to have answered. And you, she said, what else can humans survive? He looked up at the near speaker and thought about his answer for a moment. Bay was the cleanest place on the station. White walls, white floors, white ceiling. Everything glowed with soft light that had no visible source. Miyu sat on an examination table while 3 physicians moved around him, scanning him with devices that hummed and beeped. He had been scanning him for over an hour now. Stood in the corner with both of them watching in silence. Other had gathered outside the metal bay, peering through the windows, whispering to each other in their musical language. Word had spread fast. The human had touched the acid. The human had survived. Everyone wanted to understand how. Physician was named. She was older than the others, her crystal eyes slightly clouded with age, her movements slow and careful. She had not spoken much since the examination began. She just kept scanning, reading results, and scanning again. Finally she stopped. I need to sit down, said quietly. Younger physician brought her a chair. She lowered herself into it, her colors shifting to deep, tired blue. I've been a physician for 60 cycles, said. I have studied the biology of over 200 species. I thought I understood life. I thought I understood what bodies could do and could not do. She looked at Miyu with all 6 of her eyes. I was wrong. You did not know what to say, so he stayed quiet. Skin, continued, produce natural oils that create a barrier against acidic compounds. Your cells have repair mechanisms that activate immediately when damaged. Your body contains multiple systems for neutralizing dangerous chemicals before they can cause serious harm. She paused. These are not unusual adaptations. Many species have some version of these defenses, but in your species they are extreme. What do you mean? Bora asked from the corner. Got up and walked to the display screen on the wall. She touched it and an image appeared. It was a diagram of a human body covered in labels and annotations. He explained, said, most species evolved on planets with stable environments, consistent temperatures, predictable weather, safe food sources. Their bodies adapted to those conditions. They became specialists. She touched the screen and the diagram zoomed in on the human stomach. Humans evolved on a world that was trying to kill them. He smiled a little. He had heard this before, but it was different hearing it from an alien. A planet has extreme temperature variations, continued. Hot deserts, frozen wastelands, and everything in between. Your species can survive in all of them, not comfortably, but survive. You understand how rare that is. The room shifted uncomfortably. Their bodies were sensitive to temperature. Even small changes could make them sick. Land has thousands of species of plants and animals that produce toxic compounds, poisons, venoms, acids. Your ancestors ate many of these things anyway. Your bodies learned to process toxins that would kill other species instantly, pointing to the diagram of the stomach. You have acid inside your own body, hydrochloric acid, strong enough to dissolve metal. It sits in your stomach and helps you digest food. It is a small sound of horror. That is impossible, he said. Acid inside the body. How do you not dissolve from the inside out? Our stomach lining protects us, Miyu explained. Our bodies produce a spell coating that keeps the acid from touching the flesh. It renews itself constantly. If it gets damaged, it heals quickly. How quickly? He asked. You thought about it. A few days, maybe less for small damage. To face the other. Do you understand what he is saying? His body can heal acid damage in days. If one of us suffered acid damage, we would need weeks of treatment and special minerals. Many of us would not survive. The room was very quiet now. More, said, turning back to the display. She brought up a new diagram showing a human heart and blood vessel. Humans have a cardiovascular system that can operate under extreme stress. Their hearts can beat twice as fast as ours when necessary. They can put their bodies to the point of complete exhaustion and still keep moving. They call this adrenaline. It is a chemical their bodies produce when they are in danger. You have something similar, Boris said slowly, but it only activates in the most extreme situation. Humans it activates constantly, said. Their entire species exists in a state of readiness for danger, because on their world danger was everywhere, always. He shifted on the examination table. He was starting to feel uncomfortable with all the attention. He was just a normal human. He was not special. Every human could do what he had done. "I think you are making too much of this," he said. "I'm just an engineer. I'm not a warrior or survivor. I just knew that the acid would not kill me because I recognized what it was." Walked over to him. She stood very close, looking at him with an expression he could not read. "Exactly my point," she had softly. "You did not think you were doing anything special. You touched a substance that would kill any of us, and you thought it was normal. You thought it was safe." Her color shifted to something that might have been wonder. "That is not confidence. That is not bravery. That is something deeper. That is a species that has been fighting for survival so long that they have forgotten what danger even means." A step forward. Her body was shimmering with colors Miyu had never seen before, golds and silvers mixing together. "You arrived," she said. "I told you that humans were soft, fragile, vulnerable. I told you that you were weaker than us." She stopped in front of him and lowered her head slowly. Among them there was a gesture of deep respect. "I was wrong. I was completely, utterly wrong." "Could not have known," Miyu said. "Most aliens do not understand humans. They look at us and see small creatures without narrow weapons. They do not see what made us." "What made you?" asked. It was quiet for a moment. He thought about Earth. He thought about the ice ages and the plagues and the wars. He thought about early humans hunting animals 10 times their size. He thought about his grandmother, who had survived a terrible flood when she was young and still told stories about it. He thought about all the humans who had faced impossible odds and refused to give up. He said finally, "Our planet made us. It beat us down and burned us and froze us and poisoned us. It threw everything it had at us for millions of years, and we kept getting back up. We kept adapting. We kept surviving." He looked around at the watching him. "You say we are soft, and you are right. Our skin is soft. Our bodies are soft. But inside," he touched his chest right over his heart, "inside we are the hardest thing in the galaxy." News spread across the radiant horizon in less than a day. The human had touched the acid. The human had survived. The human said he could fix Tank 7. First, May did not believe it. They thought it was a joke or a mistake. But then they saw the videos that someone had recorded. They saw Minnie dip his finger into the pale green liquid that had killed dozens of workers over the years. They saw him pull his hand out, look at it, and shrug like it was nothing. Videos spread beyond the station. They reached other outposts, other ships, other worlds. Within a week, millions of beings across the galaxy had watched a small human do the impossible. Minnie did not care about the videos or the fame. He cared about fixing the tank. Repair work began 3 days after his trip to the Metal Bay. Bohr had given him full access to the maintenance systems and all the parts he needed, had volunteered to assist him, even though assisting meant staying far away and watching through a window. You did not mind working alone. He had always been comfortable with machines. They made sense to him in a way that people sometimes did not. You found the problem, you fixed the problem, and the machine worked again. Simple. Thermocoupling was exactly where he expected it to be. A long metal tube that ran along the bottom of Tank 7, carrying heating fluid to keep the acid at the right temperature. One section of the tube had cracked. Not a big crack, just a small one, but enough to let heat escape and throw off all the readings. Seeing it took time. The crack was in a hard-to-reach spot, and Minyu had to climb into a space barely big enough for his body. The acid vapors were thick down there, and his eyes watered constantly. But his skin held up. His body did what human bodies had been doing for millions of years. It survived. For 8 hours of work, the new coupling was in place. Minyu climbed out, covered in sweat and chemical residue, and walked to the main control panel. He pressed a button and watched the temperature readings. They held steady. Or jumping. No more wild fluctuations. Just a clean, stale line showing the exact temperature that Tank 7 was supposed to maintain. Behind the safety window began a cheer. The sound was strange coming from him, more like singing than shouting, but Minyu understood the feeling behind it. He smiled and gave a small wave. Celebration that night was something Minyu would never forget. They did not drink or eat like humans, but they had their own way of marking special occasions. They gathered in the main hall, hundreds of them, and they sang. Their voices blended together in harmonies that seemed to fill not just the air but Minyu's entire body. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard. Or found him standing near the back, watching the celebration from the shadows. "You should be in the center," she said. "You are the hero of the night." "I'm not a hero," Minyu said. "I just fixed a broken pipe." Made a sound that might have been a laugh. Her colors were warm now, soft pinks and gentle yellows. "Save the station," she said. "If Tank 7 had failed, we would have lost everything, not just the processing wing. The whole station would have been contaminated. Thousands of people would have lost their homes, their jobs, their lives." She turned to face him fully. "That is what a hero does. They save people, even when those people did not believe they could be saved." He did not know how to respond to that. He had never thought of himself as someone who saved people. He was just an engineer. He solved problems, that was all. "Want to ask you something," Boris said after a long silence. "Go ahead." "Stay here on the station. We could use someone like you. Someone who sees problems differently than we do. Someone who is not afraid of things that frighten us." He thought about the offer. He thought about Earth, far away, where he had been just another worker among millions. He thought about the who had gone from treating him like a fragile child to looking at him with wonder and respect. He thought about Tank 7 and all the other problems the station probably had that no one was willing to face. "Yes," he said finally, "I will stay." Or his colors bright. "Thank you. I think you will find that there is much more work for you here. Many more things that we have been too afraid to touch." "I look forward to it." Stood together in comfortable silence, watching the celebration. The singing grew louder, more joyful. Even the species who were not had joined in, adding their own sounds to the harmony. After a while, Borso again. "I've been thinking about what you said in the Metal Bay, about how your plant made you, how it beat you down and you kept getting back up." "What about it?" "I think I finally understand humans," Boris said slowly. "We looked at you and saw weak creatures from a dangerous world. We thought you were victims. We thought you had barely survived your plant's attempts to kill you." She paused. "But that is not what happened, is it?" He looked at her curious. "Did not barely survive," Bohr continued. "You did not escape your plants' attacks by luck or chance. You conquered them. Every poison, every predator, every disaster. You found ways to beat them all, and each victory made you stronger." Her color shifted to deep purple, the color of awe. "You are not survivors. You are conquerors, and you do not even realize it." Considered her words. He had never thought of it that way before. But maybe she was right. Maybe humans had been so busy surviving that they had forgotten to notice how good at it they had become. "We are just people," he said softly. "We do what we have to do." "Yes," Bohr agreed. "And that is what makes you terrifying. You face the impossible and you call it Tuesday." He laughed at that. It was a real laugh, full and warm. Them through the station's observation windows, the stars stretched out in all directions. Billions of worlds, trillions of beings, an entire galaxy full of wonders and dangers that most species would never have the courage to face. But humans would face them. Humans would always face them. That was what humans did. They found the dangerous thing, the impossible thing, the thing that everyone said could not be done, and then they reach out their soft, fragile hands. And they touch it anyway. No one spoke. No one needed to. You have a few hours, he asked, because it is a very long list. Maybe, just maybe, he would save the station in the process. I'm ready to learn, he said. Somewhere deep in his mind, a small voice whispered that before long, they would learn something too.